Hello, Hugh Grant fans, and welcome to Hugh's News, a Taking Hugh for Granted podcast. Hugh's News aims to keep you right up to date with everything Hugh Grant. From an announcement he's signed to do a new project, right down to him doing a particularly saucy tweet. If it's big Hugh Grant news, we want you to know about it. The big news today is that Hugh Grant is in a new TV show called The Undoing, and it aired on the 25th of October on HBO. I'm Diggory, and to discuss this with me, I'm joined by my fellow Horse and Hound correspondent, Oscar Beardmore-Gray. Oscar, how the hell are you doing today, mate?
Mate, I'm absolutely buzzing today. We have new Hugh Grant content to discuss. Days like this don't come along very often anymore. So
once in a Hugh moon.
Exactly. It's incredibly exciting. And what a show we were given last night.
Absolutely. I mean, we knew when he signed up to do an HBO show that it wasn't going to be... they weren't going to take the piss. It was going to be serious stuff. How did you watch it? In what circumstances? Did you get to watch it last night? Because obviously you're in the North America sort of time, or did you watch it this morning?
I watched it last night. It was, and you know what? It's going to be a fantastic addition to my October, November evenings. You know, Sunday evening. No one really has anything to do on a Sunday evening. But now we've got Hugh Grant every week to look forward to on a Sunday. It's absolutely brilliant, and it was a real treat. How about you? Where were you watching?
So yeah, because it came out Sunday evening in sort of North America. That meant that it came out really early in the morning here. So I didn't stay up and watch it, although obviously I should have done. Maybe I'll stay up and watch the last episode. But I watched it a little bit of this morning, and then I scrapped that and watched the whole thing over my lunch break. But the problem was I was sat at my desk watching it, and it's a true HBO show. So obviously there are boobs, there are naked ladies, there's sex, and I was just the whole time just
peeking over your shoulder.
Exactly. But I just thought, you know what, I'll cut my losses and I'll announce to everyone what's going on. And I was like, because everyone around me knows, obviously, I'm a big Hugh Grant fan. And I was like, look, guys, if you walk past my desk and you see some boobies, this isn't for my enjoyment. This isn't my usual lunchtime viewing, which is obviously pornography. This is slightly different today. I'm going to be watching just an HBO show. But I think one thing I just wanted to stress before we go on is we are just going to talk about today that first episode, our initial thoughts of the programme, what we thought of Hugh's character, and maybe what we think is going to happen going forward. We are going to talk some spoilers. So maybe at the beginning when we talk more generally about Hugh Grant, you'll be fine. But from then on, we might talk about... But they're only spoilers from the first episode. And then we'll do a proper review for the proper Taking You for Granted podcast when it's all wrapped up and finished in about 6 weeks' time. But otherwise, let's get straight into it. Oscar, what shall I ask you first? What you thought about Hugh's character, or what you thought about the show just in general, your initial thoughts?
Well, the show itself is everything that you'd hope for from an HBO show so far. It's got mystery. It's got a kind of really nice modern cinematic feel to the production, which I really enjoyed. And you know, as most HBO shows have, there's some real stars, aren't there? You know, it doesn't get much bigger than Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant.
Yeah, and Hugh Grant.
I mean, we're going to talk about it later, about Hugh and Nicole's chemistry on screen. But yeah, it was a really fascinating first episode, just because it doesn't give too much away, but it leaves you with some thoughts post watching it, which is what you want really from particularly what this looks to be set up to be, which is a kind of murder mystery. And, you know, murder mysteries have been done a million times before, but they never get boring when they're done well, let's be honest.
They're bloody good fun. And they are rarely done with Hugh Grant in them.
That is true.
So I'm always happy to see that.
Why were you there that night?
I was walking.
It's just such a coincidence, isn't it?
You are going to believe in things you shouldn't.
I wanted this to be caught.
Whatever you've heard, it's worse than you think.
So the show is Hugh Grant and Nicole Kidman play a married couple. And Nicole Kidman is a seemingly very successful therapist. And Hugh Grant is your seemingly the nicest bloke ever. He is literally a children's cancer doctor who hates the posh and the rich and loves his wife and swears in front of his child in a sort of jokey, fun way. What do you think about his character?
Well, yeah, he's seemingly definitely embraced the sort of dad role now, very much so. But like you said, he seems to be a loving father, a kind of adoring husband, and doesn't take himself too seriously, is willing to sort of, very much aware of the bubble that he's in, which is this very kind of rich, white, upper class New York bubble, but he's willing to sort of poke fun at it, as we see at that party scene. But yeah, no, at the moment, we are given the impression that he's sort of squeaky clean and perfect up until probably about halfway through the episode where the seed is sort of planted.
Well, actually, I funnily enough, I think what's good about the program is I was sat there going, I don't think I like everything about his character. I'll list off the things I don't like about Hugh Grant's character. He doesn't want to go to the fundraiser that his wife's put on. He drags his feet. He gets irritable with his kid when his kid's just making the, thing like that. He's grumpy all the time. But the things I do like about Hugh's character is it's played by Hugh Grant. So those things sort of balance each other out quite well. And also obviously he flirts with his wife. He says she's hot. He swears in front of his kid, and he's self-deprecating and stuff. And also he's a cancer doctor for children. He's a lovely guy. But what I mean is by that is so many times you see the perfect family and they are perfect and it's just not real. But I think what's nice about it, like you said, he's embraced the dad role, and I think every dad and this representation of a dad at least, he gets pissed off with the kid. He says some inappropriate flirty jokes with mum. It's a proper character. It's not just a stereotype.
There's a lot of things that could potentially happen here, and it's exciting, and it's definitely got me very excited.
Yes. Well, so what else do you think about the chemistry between Nicole and Hugh on screen?
Well, we begin. A very deliberate trait which is planted in our brains quite early on is this thing around adultery, which I think is going to come further on into the series. So we have the scene where Nicole Kidman is doing therapy with these two men who one of them's been cheating on one another, and she talks quite sort of confidently on what it is in adultery that people find attractive. And so that seed is just planted, but I don't think that's the end of it, is it?
No, not at all. I think you're absolutely right to point out the seeds being sown about the therapy stuff there. We meet this young woman who is out of place at this with Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman and some other people. We don't want to bore you with the details.
The gaggling mums.
Yeah, it's just a mother's meeting, and there's this woman there who's younger than the rest of them. She has this black eyeliner around her eyes. She looks completely different to all the rest of them. So you already know, whatever scene she's in, this girl has thick black eyeliner around her eyes. So obviously straight away you're like, right, well she's weird and there's something going on there. This woman takes a real shine to Nicole Kidman, not the crazy woman, but she's a bit weird. She keeps getting naked everywhere and going up to Nicole and being like, "You're right, how are you doing?" And Nicole's a bit like, "You're naked, leave me." And I'm obviously like, "You're naked, get off screen," because people at work are looking at me in a weird way. But she goes to this fundraiser. Nicole and Hugh are there. This lady with the black eyeliner has a little bit of a freak out and then leaves. Hugh, later on that evening, he's called away because one of his child patients has an issue. Hugh goes off. Later that evening, Hugh returns to bed, but seemingly something very bad has happened. And Hugh is, crying. And then he has sex with Nicole, which is kind of rogue. And then, and then the next morning, Nicole learns that lady with the eyeliner has been killed. Now, now we're going to get into our theories. I don't think those two things are unrelated because then Hughes now has gone to Cleveland. So these two things line up. Girl with eyeliner leaves the party, right? Then Hugh leaves the party. Then girl dies. Hugh has some connection to her and is sad about that. Comes back to Nicole, cries to her, has sex with her one last time, and now leaves forever, I imagine. And that's why the next day... So that's what I think is going on.
Well, you think it's as simple as that? I mean, surely that's what we were made to think. Maybe we should discuss, though, make a prediction now about who we think the killer is going to be. Because surely we've been shown the killer in the first episode. Or maybe we haven't.
This is really tough.
I got a prediction.
Talk to me.
Okay, hear me out here.
Yeah.
I think the killer is Nicole Kidman's Grace's dad.
Oh, really? So why would it be Grace's dad?
Well, I watched Big Little Lies, which is the preceding series written by the same person. It's got a similar feel in the way that we're shown characters, and we don't really know what's going on, but we can make up things in our heads about what the theory is. I mean, I think maybe I'm just being cynical. We see the grandpa at the party before, and the only thing we see about him is she comes up and goes, I don't know why he's there to start with. It's a bit odd that he's there. Why would
he gives a lot of money to the
he gives lots of money
school,
to the school
because his grandson goes. I think that's it. Yeah.
But it's a little bit weird. You're kind of introduced to this character where you're like, what? I mean, normally grandpas, do they just come by themselves to that kind of event? I don't know. The only thing he says, they sort of exchange a kind of hi. There's a bit of I notice a bit of tension, I think, between Hugh and the grandpa. The
Definitely.
grandpa don't acknowledge each other.
No.
There's definitely a little bit of tension there. And there's seemingly a short interaction between Nicole and the grandpa. And then he's like, I'm off. I've been here already for an hour. It's like, you've been here already for an hour. That's a bit weird or whatever. And he basically leaves. And that, for me, the alarm bells are ringing. I don't know why, but they just instinctively are ringing. So I think he's got something to do. There's definitely going to be more of him, and we're going to find out more about him. And whether or not Hugh is implicated in this relationship, given the fact that they're sort of not mates, I don't know. Could just be family feuds, but I don't know.
That's really interesting because, I thought it was family feuds. I thought it was a classic, Hugh doesn't like his in-law dad. He doesn't like his in-laws, which is kind of classic. But now you come to think of it, I wonder whether they're sort of off with each other because they're both in on something. Those are our predictions. But one thing I did want to say, Oscar, is I spotted something very strange in the kid's bedroom when he's in there hanging out after the police have been to come and, interview mum. She goes into his bedroom, and I took a screenshot of this, so maybe I'll tweet it out. But there is a picture on his bedside, just of a little portrait of Hugh Grant on his bedside table. But it's too weird. There's no picture of mum. No one else in the photo. It's just a close up picture of Hugh giving his beautiful little smile. And I think they've done that, the production, as a joke. It looks like he's smiling with a big kind of North Facey looking jacket on, because it's also angled right at the camera, so you cannot miss it. And I just think no kid who's 11 has a fucking little picture of their dad, just their dad, no other family members, on their bedside table. That's wet as fuck. So I think that's great fun.
You know what? It might be a little nod to the whole thing around, obviously, Nicole and Hugh haven't worked together, but they feel like they've worked together because they were both the villains in Paddington.
Yes.
Paddington and Paddington 2. And obviously, Paddington 2 has that brilliant scene with Hugh where he's got all the photos of him. And so that's very similar. So it might be a little nod to that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think you're right, Oscar.
That's it. The Undoing. HBO, it will be on for the next 5 or 6 weeks. Very exciting. We'll obviously, as we say, do a proper review of it when it's done and dusted. We wanted to say thank you once again for listening to our episodes. Thank you so much for getting in touch. Much like Oscar's been speaking to Floppy Bean or Floppy Bene all the way from Thailand. So yeah, just thank you so much for getting in touch. Keep telling your friends, keep leaving us reviews, get in touch. Just search up Taking Hugh for Granted on Twitter, Instagram or Facebook and you'll find us there. But in the meantime, get watching The Undoing and get chatting to us about it because we love it.
We want to know your theories. We want to know what you think is going to happen. And, this is an ongoing... This is a 6-week purple patch for us,
Yeah.
The 6 weeks where people will be talking about Hugh Grant and nothing else, seemingly.
Exactly.
So we want to know what you think, and we want to spread the word of this, what is going to be a real treat of a series. I know it now already. It's just a shame we have to wait a week for the next episode.
It really does. In the world of Netflix and Amazon and shit and like binging, it does feel horrible that I'm like, what do you mean I can't just click play next episode?
Exactly.
It feels horrible. But, something to look forward to, something to string out all the fun. But I can't wait. And, look, we were talking before the pod. Maybe if we feel like if something mental happens, we will return to do another Hughes News for an episode if something crazy goes on. But if not, you will see us here back again in a few weeks' time for The Undoing and we'll review the whole thing. But obviously before that, we've got episodes coming out as well. 2 weeks' notice is on the way, is next
banger.
out. Gonna be a banger featuring none other than Donald J. Trump.
And the episode is going to release very conveniently on the day that he hopefully will not be voted back in as president.
Yeah, we're going to come out right now, guys, and say, fuck Donald Trump. We do not want 4 more years of that. No, I'll bleep that.
All right, well, maybe that's a good place to end.
Yeah, as good as any. Right, see you next episode for 2 weeks' notice, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks, guys.
Mate.
This is the end of Hughes News. We hope you feel very Hughes News about Hugh Grant. Hughes News. And everything is very Hughes News. And now it's time to say goodbye. Goodbye.
Hughes News is a Taking Hugh for Granted production and is produced, edited and presented by Diggory Waite and Oscar Beardmore Gray. The producers of Taking Hugh for Granted would like to state that this podcast is in no way associated with the actor Hugh John Mungo Grant, nor does it endorse his views or represent him in any way. Instead, by creating this podcast, Oscar and Diggory hope to celebrate Hugh's illustrious career, reliving his old classics and shedding light on some of his hidden gems. Hugh, if you're listening, we hope you approve.